Okay, guys, let's start. So now it's 10:06. Okay, so basically today we will talk about two topics. One is PHP, the second one is actually Ruby on Rails. But I will try to spend more time on PHP rather than Ruby on Rails. There are usually two reasons. First is that PHP is easier than Ruby on Rails. Ruby on Rails is a good framework and it provides a lot of functionalities, but even the setup itself is already a headache. So it's good, but it's a bit hard to start. So let's start with PHP first. Okay. Yeah. So a bit about me. I'm from year 2 of computer engineering. This one is when I was on the winter school at Korea. So you can see there's so-called taekwondo there. Okay. Yeah. So if you have any question on PHP or Ruby on Rails or maybe Swift, you can talk to me, or some general software engineering questions you can also ask me as well. So during today's workshop, you can ask me any question directly, or if you want to post it on the Slack channel, it's also possible. Okay. So actually, we will talk a lot about PHP today, but please know that we can only talk about the basic part of PHP. So the code presenting here is working, but it may not be safe. So it may have some security vulnerabilities, and it may not be efficient as well. So if you have more questions, more advanced questions, you can talk to me after class, or you can talk to me when we finish this workshop. Okay. Oh, by the way, GitHub, a lot of people on GitHub, they support a list of awesome resources. And the reason why they are awesome is that actually the name of the repository is prefixed with awesome. So if I want to know some resources with PHP, then you just search for GitHub or awesome PHP. If Node.js, then awesome Node. The same applies to Swift or iOS. Actually apply most of the topics in software engineering. Okay, so PHP actually itself is a programming language to help you to do backend stuff. But to really do some backend stuff, you need to learn at least some basic knowledge in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, so maybe since we talk about PHP is more on the backend side, so then one immediate question is that, what's your understanding about front end and back end? So everyone is free to answer this question. Okay, so the question is, there are two words, one is called front end, the other one is called back end. So when you hear these two words, what do you think about them? We mean when we talk about front end and when we talk about back end.
I think it's more like the design of the website, the user flow.
Okay.
And then it's more what to do with your business logic and
okay. Yeah. So just now he says that actually front end is more about user experience and the interaction with the user. So it's more about design of interface. And back end is usually like business logic, and maybe you want to interact with your database to store data inside the database or retrieve data back from the database. So actually it's a very good answer. So actually front end means that it's really in the front. I think it's really because actually later you will know that actually front end material, all this HTML, CSS, JavaScript, just like some files that actually are downloaded to the user's browser. But backend really means that really at back. So actually all these files, because actually anyway your program is just a file, it's a file of code. So the backend code actually are now downloaded to the user's browser. They are served or they are running on the server. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so we'll talk about a few things today. So first you need to understand the server client model, which is the backend and front end. Then we will know some basic syntax about PHP. And then we will also try to learn some MVC pattern, which stands for Model View Controller. And we also try to build a simple feature which user login. and because we need to do the login, so we have to use a concept called session. So we also try to use some third-party libraries so that your website is powerful enough, it's also beautiful enough that someone can really use that. Specifically, we have 3 things to talk today: Bootstrap, PHP Mailer, and jQuery, the data table plugin. Okay, so there's always a very long debate that what's the best programming language. Then maybe someone will tell you that it's Ruby, which is our second part today. And someone else will tell you it's PHP. And then, okay, yeah, here's the answer, JavaScript. Okay. So someone else may even tell you Python, or someone else may even tell you like Node.js. And maybe today, another alternative is Swift. So actually, to compare with other language, PHP is a bit old, especially compared to Node.js and Swift. But why we are you still looking about it? Why are we still doing that using PHP? So yeah, so when we try to debate on such kind of topic, there'll always be a fire there. So actually, PHP stands for PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. So the naming itself is a recursion. Yeah. So the first P in PHP still stands for PHP. There are some similar examples like GNU. One of the stories that GNU stands for GNU is not Unix. So yeah. So actually, compared to some other language, actually PHP is quite slow. But actually, they have a technique called HSVM, which is the engine to really compile it and make it faster. And actually, it's not secure, so it's very easy to get any SQL injection or RC detection or remove spell inclusion attack or even local spell inclusion attack. Okay, but the reason why we are still learning PHP is that actually there are a lot of people that are using PHP now, and many websites are built using PHP as well. So you can see the statistics here, although statistics a little bit out of date actually. So hopefully you have already installed the software for today, which is the WAPP and MAPP or IOPP stack. So please select the latest version, which is PHP 7 with PostgreSQL 10. So basically, for your reference, WAPP is short for Windows, Apache, PHP, and PostgreSQL. So MAPP stands for Mac and Apache and PHP and PostgreSQL. The same for LAPP, which stands for Linux. Okay, so the link should already be sent to you before. So when you install it, most likely you just need to press next, but you actually do not need to install any framework now, because framework may be a bit complicated. Okay, yeah, so let's start. So we are first going to talk about server-client model. So actually, when you talk to a server, actually server is just another computer, but the computer is so powerful so that it becomes a server. It can run at any time. It will never stop. Okay, it may be stopped, then it's the server down, but most likely it will be much more reliable than your own computer. Then actually, when you are accessing a URL, when you are trying to run some program on the server, then your own computer becomes the client. Then actually that computer becomes the server. So that's the model here. So when you access a link or when you're trying to read a web page, actually essentially you are just trying to read a file. So HTML, when you read the page, it becomes a very beautifully decorated page, but actually the page itself is still a file. Okay. So yeah. So when I'm trying to develop some website or do that kind of web development, actually you are just trying to write some program that is stored on the server and read back main client. And one of the issue here is that actually you do not really know what your plan is. It may be a PC or maybe a smartphone and then maybe a laptop. So maybe today you design an interface, it may work very well on your laptop, but when a smartphone user opens the web page on his or her phone, problem comes. Because the screen size is different, so that some design that works really well on laptop may not work well on the smartphone. So that's the reason why later we will talk about the so-called this kind of responsive design in Bootstrap, so that you can write only one style of web page, but it will work well on both the smartphone small screen and laptop the large screen. Okay. Yeah. So when the user enters the URL, actually it just sends a request. But when you program, which is a backend code that is stored on the server and also run on the server, return some results. Then the result will be read by the client. Then it becomes a response. So that's actually the full picture of our server client model, which is server and client, two computers, and then they talk with each other. Then there will be request and response. Yeah. So when we want to access a URL, then it's a request. So sorry. Okay, so it's a request, then the server will give you a response. And there are actually, in general or generically, there will be two kinds of response. One is static. So when you visit a URL, it will always return the same result. The page will always be the same. But sometimes it may not be static, it may be dynamic. So that means when you are visiting the same www.facebook.com, depending on your account, the same URL will give you the different address, will give you the different content. So that's the reason why we need some backend code to return different results based on the user account. So how do we identify who is this user? Because the only thing you can know is a browser. It comes from some browser, comes from some IP address, but how can you know that IP address is this user? So that's the reason why later we'll have a concept called session. So to build a not static web page, the important thing is that you should have some backend code. For today's topic, it will be PHP, but it can also be some other server-side language that will be like Java, maybe like Node.js, Python also can. Okay, so a static web page will just be something like the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that you should already learn during the leaf valve. So you can write a header here, then you can write a paragraph here, then maybe some JavaScript here. So they are all static. JavaScript will give you some action, but the action should still be the same no matter who visits this URL. So it's still a static web page. And static web page means that actually all the things are already downloaded to your browser. So if you are using Chrome browser, you just can use right click and then inspect. Then you can see actually all the file will be here under the source tab. Or you can use F12. So it will still give you the inspector view. So then you can see actually all of them are just some files that are downloaded to your browser. Yeah. So dynamic web page means that the server will do some computation and run some program, then it will return you the actual result. So your browser still receives HTML page, but the HTML page is not just a static file. It's a result of some program. So let's say this one is a simple example. So equal means that it's just in printf or system.out.println. So it's just like some other language. So equal something here is just like print this thing into this HTML file. So when you read the PHP program, actually just like you output something, then this output and those static part, they will combine together. Then in the end, it will become a whole static HTML. Then this HTML page will be sent to the user's browser. Then again, the browser will try to interpret it. Then in the end, you can see the web page. Yeah. So there are a few differences here. So, okay. So I already have a few pointers here. So maybe, okay, so maybe I need someone else to help me since I'm a bit late. Okay, sure. So there are, okay, so let me give you some background. There are already some pointer that is pointing to somewhere within these two sections of code. So can you tell me what's the difference? Yeah, I see the green pointers.
Oh, that's HTML and PHP. Where's HTML?
About the last one. Okay, sure. Okay, so actually PHP is like a compiler. So the compiler need to know what I need to compile. So in order to let the compiler know what it needs to compile, so you need to make sure the file name is something.php. If it is a something.html, even though you write the PHP code inside this file, but since it is not read and compiled by the PHP compiler, also called, actually should not be a compiler because it's an interpreter, because it's not a compiler time, it's not a compilation language. So anyway, you need to let the PHP interpreter to know I need to interpret this file and to run this program. Then it can run this PHP code, then it will return the result. So the first difference is that you need to make sure that the file name is different when HTML page. When it's HTML file, that one is PHP file. The first one is correct. Okay. Yeah. So the second one is that if it is a HTML file, all the things that you write in this file will just be sent to the browser, to the user's browser directly. So, but for PHP, if you want to write some PHP code, then actually you will see that although this one is a PHP file, you will still see HTML code here. So how does the interpreter know which part is PHP code, which part is HTML? So you need to use this symbol to put your PHP inside. Okay. So if you have some background in JavaScript, you will know that if you want to write so-called kind of inline JavaScript, you also need to do this as well. Okay. So, but a general reminder is that although here we put HTML and PHP together, you certainly can just put all PHP in one single file without any HTML, especially for your model and controller. This one part of the view here. So equal means just print. Yeah. So then another problem is that actually most of beginners will find that a very simple but a bit hard to find bug is that if you do not write VCHO there, it will never be sent to the client. So the workflow is still like this. You print something, then the printing result will become part of this PHP file so that it can be sent to the client's browser. If you just write a string there, it's just like if you write it's just like in your Java program, you declare a variable, but if you do not print it, the console output will never receive this thing and it will never appear in your console result. Okay, so remember equal. Yeah. So if you already installed the software here, so you should make sure that you go to the manager application and then try to make sure that both the web server and the PostgreSQL database will be working. Which is, I just click the start button here. So another thing is that just now I told you that actually the PHP interpreter need to know what I need to interpret and what I need to run. So the first thing is that you need to make sure the file names is something.php. Another thing is that since the interpreter cannot find all the files on your disk, cannot find all your on the file on your computer, so you need to put it inside some folder, and this some folder for Apache is usually Apache2 then /htdocs, okay, which stands for HTTP documents. So if you already installed the software, if you already installed the WPP, LPP, or MAPP stack, and if you put your file inside the just now the Apache2 /htdocs folder, then let's say that your file name is equal _all_not.php. Then if you open your browser, then you type HTTP localhost, then equal _all_not.php. You can see the web page. Oh, by the way, so if you already see the first page, so if you visit this URL, you can just try the code all the code in the stack now. Okay. So all the code in the stack is in this GitHub repo. Actually, it's a GitHub page. So if I try to enter the URL, wait for a moment. I'm still okay, done. Okay. 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 Yeah. I'm still trying to enter the URL. Oh, no? Okay, so let's go back. Okay. So yeah. So another useful function for now, we'll just talk about this date. So we'll try to still equal as a print. So we're trying to print the date. It will print something like this. So actually the parameter here is actually the format of this date. So it will be hour, minute, second, and then date, then the month, then the year. So it's case sensitive. So that means that if you change some letter from uppercase to lowercase, it may not be working, or it may change to a new format. So actually the problem comes. So it's not when I made when I made this slash, actually it's during the evening, so about the dinner time. But actually the date is correct. But actually the time is different because time is in the morning. So anyone knows the reason behind this? So actually, it's like the date is correct. So when I make this slash, it's about April, then 19th, but the time is different. So when I made this slash, it's during the dinner time. It's around dinner time, but time is still in the morning. So anyone has any guess about the reason behind this? Okay, so let me repeat the question. So when I try to make this page of slides, it's during the dinner time, which means that it's in the evening of this date. So the date print that is printed here is correct, but time is wrong. Any guess? Correct. So by default, so just now he said that the time zone setting is wrong. So by default, the server will give you the UTC time, which is around the time zone in UK. But we are in Asia, so we are in UTC +8. So they will be offset. Okay. So if you want to print any time here, please make sure that before you print it, make sure you set the time zone to the correct one. So for us, it will be in Singapore. Okay. So which is UTC +8. Okay, so the next part we will really talk about something that you need to know, which is the PHP syntax. So we are based on PHP, so we are in favor of strongly typed and object-oriented programming. So actually, for your information, PHP is a language that with a big long history, which means that in the beginning they made some mistakes when they designed the language. So in the beginning, it's a weak type language, which means that actually they have type, but you do not need to declare the type. But then this leads to a lot of bugs. Let's say just that maybe here you declare a variable, then you A multiplied by B, but then later A is reassigned to become a string value. Then string times a number, then that will lead to an exception. And also, actually, before PHP 4, actually, they even do not have object-oriented programming. So I think they have an object-oriented programming, but it's in a weird way. So starting from PHP 5, they will try to formulate this object-oriented programming, and then until PHP 7, thanks to this two improvement, the performance is also better. So we are going to know the syntax in the version of PHP 7. Okay, so actually this equal is a language construct, which means that technically speaking, it looks like a function and it works like a function, but it is not a function. So it also do not return any value. So if you, let's start from the last one first. So if you equal something, bracket here looks like a function, right? But since it's not a function, you should not do that. But then the problem comes, what's the difference between these two? Yeah. So anyone else help? So let's start from someone specifically. So if you look at the first two lines, what's the difference first?
Is like the commas and
yes,
are replaced by the dot.
Okay, so in the first one, the kind of like the parameters are separated by commas, but in the second one, they are using two dots. So, and guys, what's the reason why? As in, what's the scenario or what's the cause of the difference? So, okay, so maybe one hint. So actually, although it says that equal takes multiple parameters. So actually, one of them takes actually 3 parameters. but the other one it means only one parameter. So can you guess which one is in 3 parameters? Only one parameter. Yes, correct. So yeah. So in some other language, if you want to concatenate a string with another string, you maybe need some function like append or something else. But in PHP, when this dot operator is applied on 2 strings, actually they will append these 2 strings together. But if it is a comma, it just means there are 2 parameters. So if you equal this thing, and this thing, they will equal each one of them. But if you equal this thing, dot this thing, and then dot the other one, so actually there will be only one parameter, which means that the second one is actually they will concatenate the 3 strings together into one longer string. Then the whole string will be printed. But let's think about it. Although the first one is 3 parameters, the second one is 1 parameter. But in the end, you will see the same result because it's just a print anyway. So you print 3 things each at one time, or print all of them at one time together. It will be the same result. But please know that this one is 3 parameters. This one is 1 parameter. Later you will see another print. The other print will have some implication on this 3 parameter and 1 parameter issue. So this one, actually the third one will also be the same because if you concatenate 3 strings together, you can just put 1 string here. And the thing is that actually just now we say that this one is invalid, but these 2 are actually valid. So right. Also the comma should not be an issue here because comma we already used in the first one. So wait, who else is late? Actually, I don't remember. Yeah, maybe starting from you. Okay. So the last one is actually invalid. Actually, we'll see that in the third one, in the fourth one, they have the bracket here, but they are still valid. And the first one also used the comma here, and it's also valid, but why the last one is not valid? So maybe a better comparison between the last second and the last one. So they all have 3 parameters, and the parameters are separated by a comma. But then the only difference is that for the last second one, the bracket is kind of surrounding each parameter. But the last one, there will be only 1 pair of brackets. So, and guys, again, equal is the language construct, but it's not function. Okay, so actually this question may be a bit hard. So actually, because equal is not a function, so not a function means that you cannot put a normal bracket there. If you put the bracket in the normal way, which means that this part will become the function name, this part will become the parameter list of this function. Then of course it becomes a function, then it's wrong. But why this two is correct? Because let's look at the last second first, then look at last third. So in last second case, you put a bracket around each parameter. So if you put a bracket around each parameter, that means it's still not a parameter list, right? It's just like you want to put some extra brackets in around some expression. It's all, of course it's valid. So let's just say that 1 plus, let's say in Java, a equal to 1 plus 2. If you want to put some bracket around the 1 plus 2 or why it's valid. If I want to put 2 brackets, it's still valid, right? So yeah. So in Java, you can write a equal to 1 plus 2, right? But you can also write a equal to 1 plus 2 with bracket around. You can also write, it's still valid, but of course it may not be a correct coding style, but it's still valid. So yeah, so put something around some expression is still valid. Actually, the bracket will just be ignored. Then what about this one? Now this one only has 1 parameter, so it's just equal to this bracket. So it's a bit tricky here. So just now we talked about the first two, one is 3 parameter, the other one 1 parameter, but then actually we have another print. So dot is for concatenation. This print takes only 1 parameter and it returns 1. But please know that it is also kind of like a language construct, but now it looks even more similar to a function. So yeah. So look at the first 3. So the first 2 actually is valid, but the third one is not valid. So any reason behind that?
So you use common.
Okay, so then yeah, so by using just now we use both commands, the dot is correct, but then this one is wrong. Yes. So this print only taking 1 parameter. So if you want to take in only 1 parameter, the concatenation will make them into one longer string. Longer string. So it will still be counted as 1 parameter. But if you use this comma, it will become 3 parameter, and it's, of course it's wrong. So also it returns 1. So if you result equal to print, which means result equal to 1. Okay. So another small thing is that actually print can use this bracket. So that's the reason I said that it's really even more similar to a function. Just now equal cannot use the brackets. Okay. So okay. So another reason, actually, if you really want to understand this problem, you really need to know, just now we talked about something called server-client model, which basically means that when you access a URL, you are trying to access a server, which is just another remote computer. So you are the client, your browser is a client. So client issue a request to the server, and server give you some response. So basically, when you try to enter some URL which links or points to another PHP file, actually PHP will be executed on the server side, then it will be returning an HTML page, and then it will be shown in your browser. So actually it brings us another small problem. So how do we really print a line break? It's not that easy actually. So if you know some HTML before, you will know that this BR, which is short for break. So in HTML, if you put some space between two paragraphs, you just put some BR there, then it becomes some line break. And then, of course, you know Java in C or Java or JavaScript. If you want to print some new line, you just put this /n or /n, then it will become a new line. So in PHP, how do you really do that? So okay, actually, there's 2 examples. Each one of them at least tries to put a line break, but actually one of them fails, which means that if you look at the result of these 2, one of them will be on 2 separate lines, but another one will just be on 1 line. So yeah. Okay. So anyone volunteer to answer this question, or you have some answer now?
Like the first one was the second one
Okay, sure. Yeah, actually, it's the correct answer. So let me just expand a bit more. So let's still think about the server client model. So PHP interpreter will try to interpret the PHP code and then print whatever to the file, then to combine it with the HTML file. Combine with the HTML code. Then when they are combined together, they as a whole become a HTML file. So the HTML file then will be sent to the browser, sent to the user's browser. So let's say that you print these two lines here. So you print these two lines here. So the result of your HTML file will become, this is the first line dot then br, this is the second line dot br, and the second line will become this user cannot see the line break. Then it's the second line, user cannot see the line break. It looks like this one is on the same line, but this one has a line break. But actually, this one is the HTML styles. If user really opens browser, we will see that only this one has a line break. This one do not have a line break. So this actually is even a part of the, actually still a part of the server client model. So you should understand that the user's browser is an interpreter for HTML code, but the PHP is actually an interpreter for PHP code. So in HTML, this line break, it just means that the HTML, the code, it's just like in your function, you put a few extra line break, extra new lines here. It will not do anything useful to the output. Only when you put the BR there, the user can see this line break. So when the browser tries to render this page, this kind of thing actually will not give you any result. Okay. So now you should have a better idea. There are 3 levels. First one is the PHP, which is inside some HTML code. And then this PHP will be evaluated, run the program by the PHP interpreter. And in the end, it will generate a complete HTML code. And this HTML code will be again rendered by the user's browser. And then some HTML element, we call all of this BR, call it element. So this element will have some special effect. And then let's say BR, the special effect will just be a new line. And then again, this HTML interpreter will render the page. And then in the end, user will see it. So 3 stage, PHP code, HTML code, and then in the end, the page. Okay, so actually PHP supports most of the common variables, which is similar to the other programming language. So it's for some basic types like Boolean, integer, float, and string. And one useful thing to know is that actually the float in PHP actually is just double. They do not have really double here. So just need to use float. And then so some kind of compound types. So like array or object. So please know that array in PHP or Swift, which you should have learned in the Machine Control Workshop 1, array in this kind of modern language are natively supported. So they are just like other variables. You do not really need to new some array. You just need to, it's very native supported. So here we will see that. So some special types like null and some other types. Actually, there are some special types, much more special types starting from PHP 5, but we will not talk about it here. So, and then interesting thing is that actually PHP, all the variable names should always be prefixed with this $sign. And if you have some background in using some command line operating system, you should know that actually this thing is similar to some bash script, which is the shell script. So PHP also has built-in function check the type of a variable. Let's say is int, then result, then it will return true, otherwise return false. So this will be similar, and you should be familiar with this kind of things. Okay, so here comes the important part. PHP used to be a weak type language. So you do not need really to have to declare the type explicitly, which means that actually just now result equal to 1 plus 2. So of course, from your understanding, result is an integer, but maybe in Java you need to write int result equal to 1 plus 2. So you do not declare the type here. And then that's the reason why it's called weak type. So if you write result times 3, okay, then of course correct. So, but what if string is a what if result is a string? So because there is no compilation here, I mean in C or in Java you will find that actually your program does not pass the compilation. Then you know if there is a bug here. But in PHP, after you write the code, there is no compiler, so you have to just put your code into the server. You never know that whether it's correct or wrong. But of course, you have some, in today's world, you have some very intelligent IDEs which can give you some hint that this type is wrong. And another way is that you can use PHP 7, which supports this kind of strong type. So PHP 7 introduced a strict mode. Strict means that they really want you to use the strict syntax, which means you need to declare all the types here. But actually, it's not really that strict. It's not strict compared to other language. And actually, from the perspective that you want to design or develop a new programming language, you may want to look into something like so-called type inference in Swift. Let's say Swift and some other language. Let's see. So, but in PHP 7, let's go back to our topic. So PHP 7, how do we support this kind of strong type? So when you declare a function, you need to write the type here and then return type with this column here. So this is more like the modern language. So that also means that if you pass in a wrong parameter, it will return your result. Because the thing is that actually in the past, if you don't have this kind of strict mode, then that means if you have a kind of like a nested calling of functions, maybe the first one is still correct, maybe the second one is still correct, but in the end, because this is a nested call, so they call a lot of functions, the stack is very high. So you really do not know what's wrong, because actually maybe the value is correct. Let's say you pass in a 12 there, but actually the 12 is a string of 12, it's not an integer of 12. Then in the end, it's really hard to debug. So later people will introduce this strict mode. So the first time you pass in a wrong type of parameter, it will already return you the result. So it's better for debugging and development. Okay, so string and boolean value, which is the type of the parameter and the type of the return type. Sorry, the return value. So PHP operators. So this one will be all the same with the other language. And something may not be that same as that. This means not equal, but smaller or larger than it just means not equal. So this one and this one will be the same. This one maybe some other language will have this. Okay. So assignment operator, comparator operator, logic operator, condition operator, all other languages have that. But there is maybe something that will interest you. They have an interesting type of operator called space-shape operator. Yeah. So this one will be just still the same, but what is the space-shape operator? A bit hard. You need to have some background knowledge. So what is a space-shape operator? So space-shape operator. Actually, space-shape operator will be something that will remind you of the comparable interface in Java. Right? So it's actually still a comparison, but it will have some return value. So if y equal to 1, it returns 0. If y smaller than 2, it returns -1. It's if 2 is larger than 1, return 1, right? So of course, this one is not supported in other language like Java, but actually it's used in a lot of programs. Because sometimes we need to translate the result from the comparison to some value. Because our Boolean value is a two-type Boolean value. Our Boolean system is a two-value Boolean system. This means that we only have true and false. But what if we need to know there are 3 results: larger, smaller, and equal. So we need to use -1, 0, or 1 here. So this thing will just return you from this larger, smaller, or equal will be translated to 0, 1, and -1. Okay, yeah. So these are all the cool stuff you can use in PHP. So just now I say that actually, okay. So actually, array in PHP is natively supported. A cool thing is that actually they have 2 kinds of array. One called index array. Index array is just like the normal array, but they have a thing called associative array. This associative array will work like a hash map. A bit of you probably done the CS 20, 40 something, right? For your batch should be similar to should be familiar with your course. So when you create an array, you just need to create an empty array. If you create an array like this, it will just be an array of 4 elements. So you can also use a bracket to create a new array. But if you use something like this, so it will become the key will become CS, the value will become computer science, the key will become 35, the value will become 67. So it will become a hash map. So they have a native support for hash map. So it will be very efficient and convenient when you program it. So let's just say in Java, if you want to instantiate a hash map and then you want to insert 2 values, you need at least 3 lines. The first one is that map equal to new hash map, and the second one will be map.put set computer science map.put 35, 67. But in PHP, you can just put it into 1 line because they have native support for this kind of associative array. So again, if you even do not want to write down the word array itself, you can just use the bracket here, the square bracket here. Okay. So another thing is that please notice that since it works like a hash map, that means your time complexity for all operations will become in constant time. So it will become in O1. Okay. So any question?
Instead of a double L, we don't use a double L, but just use spaceship.
What? Oh, sorry. Spaceship output.
So in this one, you use a double arrow, right?
Yes.
But in that one,
okay. So yeah, actually, so they are 2 different things. Spaceship operator is operator. So it's just that operator will have operand. So let's say for the same case, 1 plus 2. Actually, the plus itself is also operator. It has 2 operand, which is 1 and 2. So it's called binary operator. So the same applies to this spaceship operator. So it means that let's say just say this 1 and 2. 1 and 2 will become as 2 operands. This one will become the left operand. This one becomes the right operand. So operator will be applied to operands. In this case, it will be applied to 2 operands, and it will return some result. So apply to 2 operands, return 1 result. But here, it's just a syntax. It do not return any results. It will store both of them into the map. Because it's hash map, you need to store both the key and value into hash map. Okay. Yeah. So it's not so this one is not like an operator, it's just like a syntax. Yeah. Yeah. So remember that the time complexity here is O1. So it also supports the high dimensional arrays like 2D array, 3D array. I also have actually have a lot of useful functions in the system library to help you to manipulate arrays that consists of MP and array combine, array flip. Yeah, array push and array pop and array shift and this intersect and merge, which like the Venn diagram. And also, if you come from CS1OS, you should know that like since map filter and the accumulate are also natively supported in PHP. Okay, so the conditional and loop will still be the same thing as your Java or C, but later we'll see that actually in the second part of this workshop, the if-else syntax in Ruby will be a bit different because they do not use else if. They use, I think they still use else if, but the else if will be written in ELSIS instead of else space if. Okay. So for each, you will use for each to iterate over array, or the array of course includes the associative array. So it's kind of like your iterator interface or interface of class iterator in your Java. Okay, so after these types operators and arrays, so we come to the function in PHP. So PHP before PHP 7 has a big type. So when you declare a function, you do not need to declare all the types for parameters and return value. But starting from PHP 7, it's optional, but it's recommended that you should use the strongly typed version of these functions. So strongly typed means that you need to have specific return type and parameter types. So we prefer the later approach because it's a better software engineering practice, because it's safer and it will lead to fewer errors. It also will actually improve the readability of your code. So it's also easier for debugging. Yeah. So actually we'll talk about PHP only supports actually only fully supported since PHP 5. They have support before that, but it's not really a good way of doing PHP. Doing OOP. So many syntax are also different from PHP 4. So should be something similar to your Java. You just declare a class and then you new this class, and then but please know that the constructor function in Java will have the same name as the class name. But in PHP, before that, in PHP 4 or something, they have the similar to Java. So the constructor name will be same as the class name, but now the constructor name will just be 2 underscore then construct. Please know that this one is 2 underscore. And then we'll declare a normal method, just the same thing. So we declare a normal method. So we'll instantiate something still the same, but one thing different. In Java, you just write $Tom dot greet. But the dot here will become into this arrow. So you have three kind of errors. First one is with two things, I think smaller, then equal, then larger. And just now we have this associative array. We have used the equal and larger to kind of use the syntax to differentiate between the key and value. But now we also have this single arrow to note that we are calling a method of an instantiate of some class. To call the method of some instance of a class. So they also support the destruct function, which is similar to the in C++ or Swift. You have the deinitializer, but it's about memory management. And if you do not use it in the correct way, if you use it wrongly, it may lead to memory leak. So we will not talk about it today, but you can explore yourself. So they also have inheritance, override, and polymorphism, which is the three important concepts in PHP, which is actually in OOP in all language. And then also have static variable or access control modifiers. So this one will still be similar to the other language like Java. So let's say student extend the person class. So this one will be the superclass. This one will be the staff class. So you new a student, and then since this one is static variable, you should use two columns here to access the static variable. The student, the type static variable of student class. Okay. Yeah. So PHP has a few variables. So in your method, in your function is called local variables. And then in your class, you have instant variables. You also have static variables. And outside of the class actually should be called global variables. But they're kind of like this concept, but they have super globals. The reason why it's called super global is that it's really super globals. That means that it is accessed and then it's shared within, between all PHP scripts. So let's say that you declare something here, then it can be passed to somewhere else. So actually, these variables, you'll find it very useful when you really use PHP to do web development. So actually, another thing is that actually these variables, most of the time you will not set something because all of them are just associated arrays. So all these associated arrays, actually, the value inside usually is set by the system. So you want to access some information that is provided by the PHP interpreter. You need to know all this. You need to use this all these arrays, all these super globals to access it. So let's just talk about a few that is commonly used. So let's talk about this one. So request means that post and get. But what is post and get? So actually, when the user submits some form or when the user submits some information, let's just say some form. So actually, how does the PHP script know what kind of information that is submitted by the user? Actually, each form is just like there are a lot of fields. Then in the end, there is a submit button. So when you click the submit button, actually the value of all the fields inside this form will be put into post or get variables. These two are just associated array. So let's say that you have a simple form used to log in. So there are two fields, one is username, the other one is password. So the two entries in the post or get will just be username, then the value that is entered by the user inside the username field. And then the second entry will be password will be the key, and the value will just be the value entered by the user. And you can, when you write a form in HTML, you can set value to use post or get. And please know that when you really write a login form, please use post, because post is more secure. Because get actually they are all passed with the parameters inside the URL. So actually anyone can see the get parameters. You do not really want to use that to transmit your password, transmit the password of your user. Okay. So if you are using post, and then if you're also your website is deployed and built on a host of HTTPS, so they will support the confidentiality and integrity of your transmission. So another two thing is that cookie and session. That kind of like, because HTTP itself is not, they do not have any state. So to maintain some kind of state between you and your user, you need to use either cookie or sessions. So later we will talk about more about it. That's also the feature or the concept that we are using to if we are able to let the user log in, we need to use cookie and session. So apart from super globals, they also have the Pneumatic Constants. So just now it's super globals. I think they are super global variables. So the value will be changing inside all just all the arrays. But these are constants. So constant means that, let's say that your PHP file is called maybe like print.php. So the file will just be print.php. Let's say the file is inside some folder. Let's say the folder is called user. Inside the user folder, there's a file called print.php. This thing will just print user/print.php. So this can be used when you do the debugging. So yeah, maybe. Okay, so these are all the basic syntax of PHP. So basic syntax like print, variables, type, operator, array, loop, if else, and switch. And then like function operate OP will be more advanced. And then in the end, we talk about super globals and magic constants and namespace. This kind of thing like namespace, which is similar to C#, but it's kind of too advanced, so we will not cover it today. Okay, so later a few important concepts we are going to use is the OP function and super globals. They're going to be useful, especially the super globals. They're going to be really useful when you develop your website, especially because actually PHP will most likely be used in web development. So hopefully you can become a master of PHP now, although we are short course. Okay, so yeah. So just now the material will be a bit dry, but since you can see actually I already changed the schema slides, now we are going to talk about something that is much more exciting now, which is called MVC. So actually just now I already mentioned that what is MVC. So actually MVC, these three letters stand for 3 words. So anyone can still recall what is MVC stand for? Yes, okay. So model view controller. Actually, they are just like when you, let's say that in your 1010 or 2030 or 2040, you may just write one or two files. So the program will still be simple. They are also usually inside one single file. But in software engineering, your whole software will contain a lot of programs, will contain a lot of files. So how to organize all the codes? You need some pattern or you need some architecture. One of them will be called MVC. But of course, nowadays they have something else like MVVM, which stands for model view model. But MVC will still be the primary pattern. Okay. So, but today we are talking about the simplified version of MVC. Because if you really want to learn MVC, you can buy like 1,000 pages of books to learn that. But of course, we cannot cover that today. This page is from course from Stanford University. So actually, MVC is just like, let's say you have really a lot of source codes, and they are in different files. So how do you partition them into MVC? It's kind of like first you need to partition them according to the feature. So each feature should have a model, should have a view, should have a controller. That means that each feature is like a set of MVCs. So you see that these small circles inside the model means that each feature has a model. From here, do not have the circle, but it's the same. So each small circle means that the model for one feature, the view for one feature. So let's say that we have a feature A. This feature A should have the A model, A controller, and A view. So A model, A view, A controller, and A view should communicate with each other. So in the end, they can build the whole software. And then B will have B model, B controller, and B view. They will also communicate with each other. Okay. So then what's A is MVC? What is model, view, and controller? So actually, it's a software engineering design pattern, and that actually they are trying to separate the presentation of data apart from the interaction and really the storage of data. So actually, someone tells me that actually when you're doing software engineering, the only thing that you are going to do is that in the very limited screen size, you are trying to present data to the user in a well-organized way, right? So if you think about it, no matter it's iOS or Android or web or game, it just really is to present the data to the user. But users do not want to see just a very simple form or very simple table. You need to present the data to them in a very organized way. And then you need to present different kind of data at different locations. So that's the reason why they need to have some pattern to support the software architect. So it's usually like view means that the page you are going to see. Let's say that the web page itself, the HTML code, and the CSS code or JavaScript. So this code that you really see, also called this kind of front-end code, usually the view part. So you see them. And then controller means that, let's say you fill in some form, you fill in the login form, you fill in the password and username and password, and then it will control whether your username and password is correct. If it's correct, if the username match the password, then I will grant you some access to some page. So it really controls the logic, control the workflow of the user and the server interaction. So model means that, let's say that after you log in, you want, let's say it's a very simple posting blog system. Let's say it's like maybe Facebook post. So when you log in, because you log in, you want to access, let's say you want to access all the list of existing posts. So these posts are data. So this data need to be stored in an organized way. Let's say you want to store it into a database. But before you need to store it into a database, you need to extract. Let's say that anyway, you need to store it into the database. But before you store it into the database, model means that from the user input, let's say a form has a title for the post, the body for the post, or the time for the post. You store it into the model, and the model usually have just in abstract way. They have only two operations. Which first you instantiate new model, and then there will be a new post, and then you store it into a database, and you can also retrieve from the database to get a new post. To get the existing post. So model is really at the really back, and then controller is like in the middle, and then view will be the most near to the user. Okay. So view will just be the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Controller will usually be the PHP method to control the workflow, and model will be the abstract representation of the data. Okay. And then let's say that in our web development case, please know that the MVC in different user cases will be different. In web and let's say web MVC and iOS MVC and Android MVC, they will also have some difference between them. So let's just focus on web now. So when the user enters a URL, actually when they submit some form, they submit this information to the controller. Controller gets the input from, just now we already know that, from the get or post. So the controller reads the get and post, and then it knows that what is the user input. According to the user input, if the input is correct or valid, it will update something, or it will grant access or whatever. So it will control the workflow. And then let's say that the input for just now the new post, the input for title and body is valid. So it will update the model, says that model please instantiate a new post object. And when I finish the instantiation of the new post object, I will store this post object to the database. So that's all. No matter how complex the system or your website is, it's just mining MVC set. I think each feature will be a simple set of MVC. your whole system will just be many sets of MVC put together. That will be the whole website. Okay. So yeah, so for web system, and by the way, there's such a concept called CRUD. So actually, if you think about it, any system or any software, when you want to interact, when you want the user to interact with the data, there are only 4 possible operations. Just say for the post, you can only create a new post, read an existing post, update an existing post, or delete a post. If you can find any other available operation, please tell me and please let me know. So maybe some press, right? But actually, they are all used in most existing systems. And later we'll know that actually it's also called RESTful API or results-oriented programming. So even to be more detailed with or to align with our web development, just now we know that we need to have model view controller, and model is like the database of the objects, and controller are the control the workflow and all the method in PHP, and the view will be just the HTML CSS. So let's say we just want to develop such a system now. Your view will just be full HTML page. That's how we also said CRUD. So create a new post.html. Then you read the existing post, view post.html, and then edit a post. Edit will be just update, and then delete a post will be full page. Actually, it will be some form or some presentation of the information there. So one will be the view. So controller will just be a post controller. Because they have 4 operations or 4 page on the view part, you also need 4 methods in the controller to support these 4 operations. So the post controller class will have 4 methods: create, edit, view, or delete. Right? So 4 page, 4 methods, and then model will be just one class called post. So when you visit this new post.html, you submit some form on this page, and then the post controller create method will be called. After you call this method, there will be a new post object instantiate. After you instantiate the post object, you will try to store it into the database. Then that's how. The same applies to other operations, or the same applies to other features as well. So actually, this section MVC, even if your project is not using PHP, this one will be still useful to you as well. I think as long as it's a software engineering course, you should use MVC. Unless you want to use MVVM, but that's a bit hard to learn. So in summary, everything is just like user tries to do some operation on some results. Post is just like a result or like an object. So the sum method in something controller will be called, and then a new something model class is modified, and then also the view page something.html will be updated and displayed to the user. So actually, I call result-oriented architecture on RESTful API, RESTful interface. You can read more about it. Okay, so what's the time now? Okay, 11:30. So now we are going to build the login. Okay, so let me ask someone. So that's how we already know that we need to use the results-oriented architecture, and we also have the create, update, and delete CRUD. And we also have the MVC model view controller. So if I want to build a login style feature using MVC and result-oriented pattern, so what should I have? I think what kind of code should I have? Yeah. So let's start from view. So I have the view. Now I want to build a login. Yeah. So view functionality in this view called what I mean. So actually login will just do operation on a user object. But login of that will be login will just visit some. So then what about controller? Should be the name of the controller class. Login should be more like the myself than the controller class. But just now we say that controller should be the controller class. That's how it's supposed to. Now we start with the user. So user controller should have itself. So control part will have two methods inside the class called user controller class. This user controller class will have login method and stand method. So what about the model? Yeah, okay. So the user model will be called user model class. And then user model class will be new user when you sign up, that's called visit an existing user when you log in. Also in your database there may be a users table to support that. Okay. Yeah. So the result now is user. We have two operations, which is login. Login is just now the view post. Sign up is just now the create new post. Oh, sorry, login is a view post. Sign up is the create new post. So your model will be user.class.php. Control will be user.controller.class.php. Method will be login, sign up, user, I think then the view will be user folder login.php, user folder sign-up.php. And then regarding the naming here, PHP interpreter only asks us to make sure the extension name for the file is PHP. So it should be something.php. But we can have something.class.something.php. So why? So actually, these two login.php and sign-up.php, actually they are most likely they are the HTML code with some minor PHP code inside. I think PHP code is just like embedded inside the HTML code. But since we need the interpreter to know this, there are some existing PHP code inside. So it just be login.php. But here, actually this kind of controller or model class, the whole file will just be PHP code. So that means there's no HTML code there. And then they are just like a class inside the file. Just like in Java, each class should be each class in Java should be declared in a single file, and the file name should be the same as the class name. The same applies to PHP. Since that we need to, because this kind of PHP file will just most likely will be HTML code with some minor part of PHP code. But this kind of file will just be all PHP code. To differentiate them, this view model and control will be .class.php. This view will just be .php. Okay. What's time now? Do you want to have a break, or maybe do you want to wait for the lunch from the prof? Oh, you have any question up to now? Sorry? Which database? Oh, okay. So just now we say that the software we are using is called WPP, NAPP, and RAPP, right? So depending on your operating system, if you are on Windows, W stands for Windows. If you're on Mac, then M stands for Mac. On Linux, L stands for Linux. But the common part is this part. So what does the APP stand for? A stands for the Apache server. Apache to HTTP server. And then P stands for PHP. The second P stands for PostgreSQL. So actually your Apache server will be the one that, because you need to have some server software that user, when the user visits this URL, you need to redirect to that page, right? So Apache, this server will do this part of job. And the PHP code, you need to have some PHP interpreter. So it will be here. But the second P, PostgreSQL, is the actual database. Because most of the applications, they need some server for the HTTP, the request and response. And they also need some backend language like PHP. They also need some database. So since they are commonly used together, people put them together into a stack called something, actually should be called X, APP X for some of one of the operating systems. Okay. By the way, if you want to use MySQL, then there will be a version called WAMP. M stands for MySQL, or MAMP, or LAMP. Okay. Yeah. So okay, so first we'll start from the view part. So basically, when you log in or when you sign up, it's just a form. When you log in, in the most simple case, there should be a form with two fields. One is username, the other one is password. When you sign up, there should be a form with maybe like 3 fields: username, password, and confirm password, right? So let's look at login first. Let's see it actually. That large enough, or you are using the stats on the web page. I think, can you see the font here? Is that it's small, or are you using a laptop to see the stats on the web page? Okay. If no one has difficulty to read stats, so let's continue. So you see this whole thing, and you see the first line, the last line will be put into a form element. So the whole thing is a form. This one will just be the login form. And then, okay, so it's not working. You will see there will be a PHP part, and there is an if inside. So let's say that your login I think you did not log in successfully. Maybe your password is wrong. You need to give some box there to say that your username and password doesn't match, right? So you need to have this if, and then error message if set error message. That means that if the controller pass a variable to the view that is called error message, then that means there are some errors. Then if there are some errors, then the view should display the error message. So there means that if else. These are actually all of the classes will just be some, you can ignore it for now because they are all part of the bootstrap. So yeah, they'll make the HTML looks more pretty, but not really that important. I'll learn later. So the important part is just that within the if, there will be an equal there. So if the controller pass some error message string to the view, if it is passed, then the view should display the error message. If it's not passed, then it's just nothing will happen. So then later we'll have 2 fields. One is called email address, the other one is called password. So email address and password, and then a sign in button. So when we click the button, then it will be directed to the controller. Okay. And by the way, if you look at the first line, there will be a form, then it will be a attribute called method, and then the method is called post. So this should remind you something. Just now we say that the data that is entered by the user inside a form should be passed to the controller via either get or post. So if you put post there, the data here will be passed to the controller using the post array, just on the super global post. Okay. So also then what will be used as a key? Because post is just an associative array. So what will be used in the key of the array? What will be used in the value of the array? So you will see that each email and password, they have two fields that are marked as an input element. So each of them has a name, and the name will be used. The name attribute here, input name email. This name or this name password will be used as a key of this part. This name equal to password or name equal to email. This part will be used as a key of your associative array. And then, because the input will just be a field there, an empty field. And then when the user enters something, that the value that is entered by the user will be used as a value of the post array. Okay. And then the sign in will just be a button. You submit the form, then you can sign in. So display the error first. Then when the form is submitted, then the keys will be the name attribute of each input element, and values will be text entered by the user at each field. Okay, so this one will be the controller class. And then first, the control class should handle a few use cases. If the user already logged in, then do not need to do anything. Actually, even do not need to render the login form. You can just directly give the ground access to the login page. I think to the page that the user want to access. And then if I check the post super global, there is no element inside code with the key, email, or password. That means that the user did not enter some information when he submit the form, or even maybe he even did not submit the form. I have not submitted the form yet, so I will just render the page that asks the user to enter all the information in. But if the user has entered email address and password, then not I should try to know whether the email and password is correct or not. If it is correct, grant access. If it's not correct, give some error message. So, okay. So, if you validate by email and password, this method will be inside the user class, and then the result will be actually the result is not a Boolean value, it's an array because it's a row returned by the database. So then we will see this method as well. So if the result is not empty, that means that in the database there is an entry of this username and this password. So if in the database there is such an entry, that means that there is a user with such username and password. That means the input is correct. So I should return successfully. I think I should return successful and grant access to the user. Otherwise, that means there is no such user. The user either input something wrong or it should go and sign up a new user, right? True. So, so here comes to the session variable. So actually, let's look at the S part first. So else, that means that there is no such user. Then I should display, just how we say that there is an error message there. So you should pass error message to the view. And then the view will know that there is such error message. I should display the error message, right? So, but another thing that you still do not know yet is a session variable. So what is session about? So here, after the user has already successfully logged in, and set the authority to true. That basically, if I think even if you don't understand the session concept, but you should know that this session is set to true means that user has already logged in. So later when we check this session variable, we know that user already logged in, right? So email address also set to the user's email address, and then this header is just the redirect to this URL. But then again, so what does this session mean? So actually, HTTP protocol is stateless. That means that now you authenticate this user, you know that it's correct, but later you still to continuously know it is this user already logged in. So how do we do that? So actually, you should know that the only thing we know that is that we know where does the request come from. So from some browser, we can know some information from the request itself, and then the user, when the user sends a new request, we should know that it's still the same user. So how should we do that? Let's come to the concept of session. So session means that when the user first visit your website, you establish your session with him or her, or with that browser. So when you establish your session with him or her or that browser, later this session will continue. And then just now you enter some information into the session variable. This variable will be retrieved. I think next time if the user visit your website again, you can still access this session variable. So inside session variable, if inside this variable there is an authorized variable set to authorized element set to true, that means that user has already logged in before. So if the user has already logged in before and there is such a session variable, that means that later I do not need to go let the user to log in again. So I can maintain this kind of state between the user and the website. That's the reason why we are using session. Okay. So since I believe most of you have not taken CS2105, so cookie may be even a bit harder, but basically cookie is something that's stored as a browser. Each time the cookie is sent with a request. So cookie is just like there will be a cookie variable called session ID. This session ID will be a random variable and it's unique. So each time when you send the session ID to the server, search server then will know that you are that user. That's the way because you need, the next time the request comes, you need to know how does the PHP know that it's still the same user? It's according to this session ID. Okay? Yeah. So session ID is stored as a cookie, and each time it's sent with a request. So if the session ID is the same, we know that this request is coming from the same user as the last one. So if it is from the same user, we will try to check whether the user has logged in or not, according to the session variable. Okay? Yeah. So it's a bit complex here. So from the programmer's perspective, session is just an associative array. You can put some value in that, and then it will start, and later you can retrieve that. So each user has an independent session, which means that actually each user will have an independent associative array. And then, of course, a cookie variable session will be established. So here, you are trying to add two new session variables to the session associative array. And then later you can use that. So we already so we already know about the view part and the controller part. So anyone has any questions up to now? Any questions? Oh, okay. So this user validate is actually a method that be defined in the model class, and this method, this function will return an array. this array representing the one row in the database. So if this row is empty, that means that there is no such row in the database. If you already know about a little bit about SQL, to know that each table is like a lot of rows. So if there is no such row, that means that the user has not been signed up or the password is wrong. If there is such a row, that means that there is such a user. So the empty will check, because this is return an array, the array representing the row. Empty will check whether the array is empty or not. If the array is empty, that means that then maybe the user does not exist. But if the row is not empty, that means that there is such a row in the database, which again means that the user exists and the password and username match. Okay. So this. Okay, yeah. So if you have no questions, then we will continue with this user validate method. Okay, so this validate method is inside the user model class, and inside this user model class, we will instantiate a database class to establish this connection with the database. And then we also have a simple SQL query. You have already attended the SQL workshop to know that. So basically, if we will first try to check whether the email address exists or not. If the email address even does not exist, that means that basically this user has not signed up yet. And then if the email address is there, that means that there is such a user. And later we also need to check whether the password is correct or not. So when you instantiate a new database and you have a query, and then you ask the database to query this string, and then according to the email address. So please know that the PHP API actually is the PHP PDO library, which stands for PHP Database Object. This library will help you to do this kind of embedded query. You put this email into an array, and then here email equals to this question mark, and then this question mark will be replaced by the email address. So if the email address is, let's say that at gmail.com, so the query will become select star from users where email equal to 123 at gmail.com. Okay, so if you go to database and query this, if the query return empty result, I will also return empty array, because that means that it's just no such row. Of course, it's wrong. The user has not signed up yet. But if it is correct, we cannot return true yet because we have not checked the password yet. So now we need to check whether the password match. Here comes some trick in security part. You will learn more about it in CS2107, but we'll just give a brief introduction to that. So first, please know that this PHP API will also return you a 2D array, because the API do not know whether it's a single row or a multiple row, because it's very possible that the SQL query return you like 10 rows or 20 or 100 rows. So it's a 2D array. And then inside this 2D array, each element inside a 2D array is also an array. Each array will mean one row. We need one array to represent one row in database, because one row is not a single string. One row has many columns. So the whole table has many rows. Each row has many columns. So of course we need to use a 2D array to represent that. So we'll first get the 0, which means that the first row. Also that actually when you set up the database, make sure that you use the email with unique, so that because one email can only be registered with one account in your website. So that actually we know the result should be always only one row. So email address is unique, so it should always return one row. So we just get the first row here. And then we have password verify function. Result row password, which is a column of this result, which is a column that is storing the password. And this password is the password that is entered by the user. If password verify returns true, will return this result row. Then later the controller will know that the row is not empty. Then I can grant access to this user. If it's wrong, return false, then we need to return empty array, which helps the controller that the password is wrong. So what's the magic behind this password verify? So actually, the user enter a password in plain text, but what we store in the database must be in ciphertext, or I think it's kind of encrypted, or more concepts or process word should be hashed. So you know that hashing can build hash table, hash map, or hash set, but actually in security, hashing is a way to securely kind of manage this password. So that what's the result? In your database, all the passwords are hashed, so that even if someday your password, I think your whole database is leaked, even if the hacker gets the password, it's already encrypted, he still do not know what's the password of the user. Okay, so please do not think that your server and your database is safe. It's very possible that someday someone will go into your server and do something bad to your users. Even if your access granting or your firewalls are so good that no one can come through, it's still possible that someone go to the physical security layer, which means that they break your door and then go inside your data center and grab your disk and then come back. So if they get your disk, then everything is there. So please never store your password in plain text for your user. That's not responsible. I think that's not a responsible, or that should be part of the responsibility as a web developer. Please make sure that all the information that is stored in your database should be secured. Okay. So you should never store password in plain text in your database. Thus, we need to apply something called one-way hashing. And this one-way hashing is the magic. So, sorry, there is a typo there. So, some mathematics now. One-way hashing is a kind of a special hashing that is used in security, in information security. So, A is the input, B is the result. So it's just a function that is taking one input. So you apply this, let's call it function H. You apply H on A, the result is B. Then there are two important properties. It's a bit hard to understand, but please do read it and then try to understand it. First property is that it's nearly impossible to find another value, A2, such that HA2 equal to B if A and A2 are not the same. In other words, if your input is different, this hashing function grants you the ability that the result is very hard to, I think the result is most likely will be different as well. So input different, usually the result will not be the same, right? So why do we need this property? Because if two values are different, I think if two inputs are different, but output is still the same, then maybe it's very possible that the hacker will use a password, I think will use an input that is different from the original password. But since after you hash it, it's still the same, then you may think that it's the correct password. So you should only make sure that the user should only enter only one unique value. Only this value will be considered as the correct password. The others are all wrong. The second one is that it's very hard to derive A from B. That's also the reason why we can make sure our database is secure enough. So even if the user get the database, even if the hacker get the database, he can only get B. But from B, it's really impossible to get A. The only way to get A that is using brute force, which means that you apply H on all the integers in the integer range, from -2 in the power of 32 to 2 in the power of 31 to +2 in the power of 31. If you can do this hashing on this such a kind of large range, iterate over all this large range, usually you need to take about 100 years or something else. So after 100 years, usually your user information is not useful anymore. So using these two properties, your database is secure enough. And then this property is the reason why we call it one-way hashing. So you can only hash from A to B, but you cannot hash from B to A. This makes one-way hashing a bit different from other encrypted or encryption, because if you have the encryption algorithm, you should also have a decryption algorithm. And then why we do not use the normal encryption and decryption is that usually encryption is just like you encrypt A with some key, with some secret, then you get the B. And then if you use the same key to use the decryption algorithm, you will get from B to A. But the key is managed by someone, let's say your company, it's managed by one of your employees. But what if your employee is a tree? I think, what if your employee tells the secret to someone else, tell the secret to some competitor of your company, right? It's still not secure. So we can only use a one-way hashing that there's no secret there. You just cannot get the password. That's the reason why is that, let's say you have a Twitter account. If you forget your password, Twitter can only tell you to reset the password. The company, the Twitter also do not know what's your password. They can only help you to kind of move your account to a new account, then you can enter a new password. They also do not know what's your original password. So using this way, your website is secure. Okay, so according to these two properties, we kind of protect against two kind of attacks. First one is that the hacker will not be able to log in if he do not know the password. He does not know the password. Second one is that the hacker cannot derive the password even if the database itself is leaked. Okay, so one-way hashing is a group of hashing functions. So there are many hashing functions in one-way hashing. But usually we use one called bcrypt. So yeah, so bcrypt is one of the most famous one-way hashing functions. And then another thing is that it's fast and it's also secure, because if your hashing function is very slow, then of course the performance of your website may not be good. Another way is that it uses socket hashing to protect against the rainbow table attack. Rainbow table attack may be a bit advanced, but a more easier to understand attack is kind of like this kind of attack. So let me draw something here. Let's say that we have two users now. One called user A, one called user B. But unfortunately, let's say that due to some reason, they set their password to be the same. So according to the first property, Binary hashing function guarantees that if your input is different, your output is usually different. If your input is the same, of course your output should still be the same. So we have user A and user B. User A and user B have the same password. So the plaintext will be A1 and A1 and A1 and B1. So A1 equals to B1. If you apply H here, H A1 will also be equal to H B1. Let's just call H A1 to be A2, H B1 to be B2. So since A1 is equal to A2, since A1 is equal to B1, A2 should also be equal to A2 should also be equal to B2. And then somehow the hacker maybe throw some kind of like, there is a very interesting attack called look over the shoulder attack, which basically means that the hacker will stand behind you when you type your password, look over your shoulder, then they can get your password. And then if this hacker, the same hacker, still get your database, then the hacker will go into the database and find that there are two rows in the password column that are the same. And then I go and see the username. I find user A, and then I also see the A2. In the database, if I find someone else, another user that also has the same B2, that means the plaintext of the user B is also the same. So according to look over the shoulder attack, I know user A's password. Okay, I know the plaintext of user A's password. Then I also know user B's password. So that's kind of also possible attack. And then there's something called sorted hashing, which means that the hashing result, even if the input is the same, the hashing result will still be different, right? They will add a new parameter to the hashing function, which is the username. So even if the password is the same, even if the plaintext is the same, but since they have different username, the ciphertext is still different. So if the hacker gets only look over the shoulder, only get user's password, he go into the database, he still cannot see other password because even if the plaintext is the same, the ciphertext is still different. So only one victim there, only one user's password is leaked, the other user is still secure. Okay, because actually you may think that it's very impossible for two users to have the same password, but who knows? Because let's say for libraries like Facebook or Twitter, they have so many users, it's still possible that two users have the same password. Okay.
So can you start a song? Can you start a song?
Oh well, this self hashing is like it's part of your ciphertext, and also depends on that different different type of hashing. So in fact, the more simple case. And then this bquip also is about this kind of sorted hashing. So I create a sample user. You will see that I create a password stored in the database is a ciphertext, which also called more precise should be the hash password. This hash password is very long. It's impossible to get the plaintext from that. So when the user tries to sign in, we need to compare the password entered by the user and the password stored at the database. Also compare them. I think okay. So maybe either let's just think about when the user sign up, then there is a new account created. We know the plaintext because the user entered the password, right? Then we just hash it and then store it into the database, and then there will be just now. Then this one will be stored into the database. Then what about sign in? So what about sign in? I don't know that now, but So how do you do the second? How do you verify the password? Yeah, I think excellent. So we are focusing on the password. So when you sign in, right, you go to the database, you know the hash version, the encrypted version of this password. The user also gives you a plain text of the password. So how do you verify this? Yeah. Yeah, but then how do you check from the plain text, the text? Because the problem is that you have the hash version, but it's binary hash. You have B now, but you cannot derive A from B. Yes, right. So do you right? So you need to hash it in. You cannot derive A from B. So if you just store an encrypted version of your password into the database, you can decrypt it. But when we hashing, you cannot decrypt it from the hash text. You can only encrypt the text, the plain text again to get the ciphertext. So given B, it's hard to derive A. To compare them, we need to apply the one-way hashing on the password interpret user again, and to compare these two hashed results, as in compare two result of the hashing one-way hashing function. So to prove the correctness of this algorithm, because according to the first property, it's nearly impossible to find A1 and A2 such that HA1 and HA2 is the same if A1 and A2 is different. So in other words, if HA1 and HA2 is the same, that means A1 and A2 are also the same. Okay, yeah. So this one is about the security part of the login. Okay, guys, let's start this. Okay, yeah. So in the afternoon, we will more talk about it's more like introduction. So because in the afternoon we still have two more topics. One is some third-party libraries. The other one is on the Ruby on Rails. So because those two topics will, I think actually these two topics will be actually very useful to the project, but they are kind of like too much information to present. So we will just try to talk about the basic about it. And so first topic will be some third-party libraries, and we'll talk about how to use these third-party libraries in PHP. And specifically, we'll have three libraries to talk about. First one is PHP Mailer. The second one is Bootstrap, which is a very popular, responsive, mobile-friendly front-end framework. And jQuery database is it's kind of like it's a plugin to jQuery, which can really make your simple table, I think the original very boring table, to become really useful and powerful. It's about like paging and like searching and like so-called kind of like different markups. So yeah. So we will first start with PHP Mailer. So actually, in the past, if you really want to, because actually mailing or email is actually a very common feature. Let's say that there is a new user sign up in your system or in your website. Of course, you at least need to send some welcome email to the user's email address, right? So the traditional approach is that you need to set up a mailing server on your server, which is just like Apache is like the HTTP server. You set up a mailing server. You also have the Postgres SQL database server, and then you need to communicate with your server to do kind of inter-process communication and then so on. It's very complex. And then thanks to PHP Mailer, which use the SMTP or POP3. So SMTP, this protocol will just something you need to do is that if you want to send the email, first you need to register a new Gmail account, and then give the email address and a Gmail address and password to this library, and then you just call this library with one line, then they will send the email, right? It will be very simple. I hope you will prefer this approach instead of setting up your own mailing server. Okay, so the first thing is that every programming language if you want to do some modern software engineering on any programming language, you need some dependency management. Because in today's world, it's really impossible to imagine that you build a software without any dependency or without any third-party libraries. You at least need some starting point, or at least need somewhere else work, because they already do this work. I think they need to support just one line to send an email. It's very hard, but they already do the hard part for you. So you want to use some third-party libraries. So every project needs to have a lot of third-party libraries. So to install them, I think of course you can just go to their website to download one by one, but then that's going to be very hard. So every language comes with something called dependency management tool. So which means that just like, let's say you have a composer.json file, you just write down all the name of your third-party library and the version here, and then this tool will just help you to automatically download all the dependencies. So that is much easier. So in PHP, it's called composer, and like later in Ruby, we have the Ruby gems, which has the bundle. And then in Node.js, you have the NPM, and in Swift, you have the Copilot, and the same applies to Java. Java have Maven and Gradle and Ant. So for PHP, it's Composer. First, Composer itself is a dependency management tool. So itself is also a software. You need to download Composer itself, just as the CLI, then you just install it, and then you need to declare all your dependency in this composer.json file. Usually, we put this composer.json file as the root of your whole project folder. So require means that I think your project requires some dependency. So you put it into require. The whole thing is a JSON. This is just the syntax of JSON. So require something, then you PHP then 6.0 version. If you want the new library, just put a comma there, then a new line, right? So you declare all your dependencies in this file, and then you already have the composer downloaded. You just run composer downloaded. So you just run composer install, then all dependency will be installed. So what is composer install? Basically, it automatically helps you to download all the dependencies to your project repository. So I think specifically for composer, it will download all the dependencies into one folder called vendor. So it will generate a new folder, then download all the dependencies there. And then another magic thing comes. So let's say that in Java, if you want to use some dependency or you want to use some other class, you need to write the import statement in the header of your whole program, right? So in PHP, you also have the same thing that we call it require or include or require or increment. There are some difference, but they are most likely the same. So you need to let's say that you want to require you want to import the PHP mailer some program or subclass or some files in the PHP mailer class, but it's a bit hard when you just to import this PHP mailer just like this. I think if you need to know what's the name or what's the address, what's the name of the class that you need to import. And then here comes a magic thing called PHP class autoloader. So you just require this autoloader, and this autoloader will know because will evaluate the program. Come to this and you know that you instantiate this class. That means you need to import this. So if you do not import it, I will help you to automatically import it. So that's reason why it's called autoloader. So automatically have to load all the import statement, also called the require and include statement. So basically, in a nutshell, the whole thing just help you to manage your dependency so easily. Yeah. So PHP mailer just like to send email in PHP. Yeah. So the good news is that you do not need to create your own mailing server. You just need to create a new Google account and create a new Gmail. But a general reminder is that since you need to put your password into your code, first that do not submit do not submit this code to your GitHub repo, because if your GitHub repo is free, then your all repository is public, and if you are using your own Google account, then your password is there. So that's a very common mistake. When you commit something, then everyone can see your password, right? So also is that so please create a new separate Google account for your email, as in for use in the PHP mailer. So when for this new account, for this new Google account, try to disable all the security settings like two-factor authorization, because your PHP mailer cannot read your SMS, right? So you please disable all the security settings, and then there also a setting called this. So actually, if you go to this, you can go to this later, or you can just search online for the Gmail help or Gmail documentation or something. They have less secure apps accessible account due to the fact that actually all the apps that we are developing, to be honest, from Google's perspective, it's really not secure. So please select some options. I think if you go to this link, later in the next paragraph, they will give you a link. Then you click on some button so that you allow all apps, no matter whether they are secure or not secure, you allow them to access your account. Because to be honest, our application is not secure, right? Okay, so basically the function that you need to call is just this email function, and then, oops. Okay, so basically this one is Gmail, their Google's SMTP server, which is just that you call this address, then you have to send this email from a third party, which is our PHP code now. So you set all these settings. This setting will be just something you can just follow this template, and then to make it secure using TLS, and then authentication also use it, and then for this part, you need to enter the username and password for your Gmail account. Then you can use this account to send some email to someone else. And then set the from, I think you'll set to from because it's from you. So you need to set the email address and PHP MVC. Actually, this means that if you look at carefully, actually, most of the time when you receive an email from someone else, you not only see his email address, you also see a name here. So where does the name come from? It will come from here. So you can set I think usually it's the name of the website. Right? So also add reply to. Actually, if you have looked through if you have looked through some of the international standard on email before, actually most of the time our set from address, I think the sender and the reply to address are usually the same, but actually you can send them to be different, which basically means that I have one email address. I use this email address to send you to something. Usually it's like no reply at something.com, right? But if you want to, let's say that when the user clicks the reply, if your email agent or your email client, I think the software follows the protocol strictly. If you set the reply to as another address, actually when you click the reply to, the receiver will become the reply address instead of the sender. But maybe you have not noticed that because like most of the time the people will set the set from and reply to be the same address, but you can't do that. I think you can put it into different, especially for most of the time because your from it will be the no reply as something. So maybe your reply to can be a kind reply as something, right? So add address to, which let's say this one will just be when you sign up. Then I think when the user sign up, then there is a new user sign up. You need to add the address to the receiver. And also you can set up the subject and body for your email. For your information is that actually email, the body actually can be just like plain text. It can also be an HTML. Modern email client apps actually they also support HTML. So you can just put one page there, then actually the page will be rendered when the user's email when the user receives this email. Okay, so most of the time, if a setup is correct, then you can send this email and then call this send method actually because mail is you new a PHP mailer, you call the send method. Then if return true, then you can return true. If it's not return true, usually it's that you have some network connection problem or your email password is wrong. So if you throw an exception. So basically, PHP mailer will be a very useful library if you want to develop this kind of user management or something else. Okay. Yeah. So any problem? Okay. So we'll continue with a little bigger problem. I think a little bigger issue. So Bootstrap. If you are building a website, of course you can just write your own HTML code, CSS code, JavaScript code. But to be honest, if you really do that, then later you will find that actually your page, unless you really have really good design or you have very good training before on website development or website design, but usually for beginners, your website, I think the web page may be very ugly. That's the truth. So you need to use some library. I think as long as you use this library, although your code is still very short, you write a very normal, simple code, but they will help you to make it really beautiful. And another thing is that Bootstrap, actually it's called kind of like the most popular HTML CSS JavaScript library in the world. It's developed by Twitter, and now the latest version is 4.1.1. And then another very important thing is that it is mobile friendly, and it's possible to build a responsive interface. If you still can recall, actually in the morning we said that your server may receive requests from many different clients. So the client can be a laptop, can be a PC, or can even be a smartphone. So another thing that we mentioned is that actually your website, your design may look very good on a PC or on a laptop, but because smartphone, the screen size is much smaller, so it may not look good anymore on a smartphone. The same applies. So if your website design is good on a mobile platform, on a smartphone, it may not look good on a large screen like PC or laptop. So Bootstrap, as long as you use Bootstrap in a correct way, the same code will render your content in a different way so that it will look good on both large screen and smaller screen. Okay, so yeah. So why do people call it responsive design, responsive interface? So actually, the interface, although it's the same HTML code, actually responds according to the device and screen size. So some styling there may be one kind of styling on larger screens, but another kind of styling on middle screens, and then the other kind of styling on the small screen. So we need to make sure that our code should look good on any kind of devices. Yeah. So a very simple demo is that let's say that you should see a lot of website has this kind of like the navigation bar, right? So if you are on a large screen on your laptop, usually navigation bar will just be horizontal. So you have your screen is wide enough, so you can just put like this. But on a small, like your smartphone, if they still put like this, then the second half of the navigation bar may just be collapsed, or I think you cannot see it. Otherwise, let's say that if you really want to put it on horizontal line, then that means that your font size will be very small, then you cannot see clearly as well. So if you are using Bootstrap, the same code, when it's displayed on a phone, it will become vertically. So then it render vertically, then the user can see it better. Okay, yeah. So it's a bit different. Just now, PHP mailer is more like a backend library. So you are going to use the composer to install it or to put it into your lab, put it into a project. Because composer will install it to your server. But Bootstrap is something that is a front-end framework, which means that the framework itself is also HTML, CSS, JavaScript code. So this Bootstrap framework also needs to be downloaded to the user's browser. So in order to download it to user's browser, they should also become part of your HTML code. So how to do that? You can just, I think if you already know some basic about CSS and JavaScript, you can just use this link to include external style sheet. But the thing is, if you host all these style sheet on your own server, your server may be very slow, and it may not be that slow, but at least slower than this kind of server from big companies. So what they do, this kind of big companies, they have the CDN, which is content delivery network. They will host, because this Bootstrap is used by everyone. So instead of put this SSH, which is the URL of this CSS or JavaScript to your own server, you can point this SSH, this URL to the URL of this CDN network. So the good news about CDN network is that first, their server is good and robust and stable enough. Also, is that maybe now your website may only have user from Singapore, right? But later you will find that actually your user may from like all over the world, maybe from different countries. So CDN will determine their physical and geometry location, and according to the location, they will help them to download the. I think although it's the same URL, they have different servers on different locations. Let's say from USA, then we have a server in the US. So then it's much faster. If you're from Singapore, we have a server at Singapore, then you can download from this server. So anyway, it's just a very complex network behind that, but it's just a CDN service. Use their service, then user can render and download, see the page much faster. So anyways, the key idea here is that just that put this whole part into the head. I think your HTML code has two parts, head and body. Put this part into each. I thought if you this page need to use Bootstrap, just put this part into the head of your HTML. Then you can use all the components inside the Bootstrap. So Bootstrap has a lot of useful components, and actually most of websites, if not all, most of websites are using them. So this may see some weird word for you now, but let's look at a very interesting example. So this page is from your maybe your most familiar website, like our IBLE. So let's look at what IBLE is using. Yeah. So, and guess what is this called? Yes, right. So it is actually called the drop down, but actually you can, I think you can build your own drop down. But then the problem that first it will not look like a real drop down. So you see, actually they have all this corner radius and all this setting here of all the rows and the space between different rows. Actually, there are a lot of very complex CSS behind that. But anyway, if you are using Bootstrap, then you can just add a class or add something to your web page, and it will be rendered correctly. So the reason why that actually I do not put any Bootstrap code inside this that is that actually Bootstrap has a very good documentation, and it's kind of the code itself is good inside that the API has a very good modularity, so that you go to their documentation website, then you will see that I want to navigation bar, then there will be a template there. You just replace all the text there, then it can be used. So it's very easy to use, and it's very easy to install. To install it, just add a few lines to the header, and to use it, just copy and paste out the template to your project, and then the user interface will be much better. Okay, so this one will be a drop down. this arrow may be a bit weird, but actually I'm talking about this whole part, I think this whole line. The magic about this whole line is that actually it's kind of like representing your path from the root to the actual current page. So sorry, this part is hidden behind, but this part actually the first one is called workspace, right? I think the home page of your IBLE. And then ST2334 is like the module. And then we are under the overview now. So using this breadcrumb, this thing will help the user to know where I am now. So for the user, the whole thing is just like a tree. Then I'm at the level tree. I think the third level of this tree. The first level will be the workspace. I think the whole IBLE. Then the first child, I think the first child will be this module. The second child, I think the current node will be the overview component of this module. So this usually it's very useful. Let's say still it's like this one can be related to just on our MVC architecture as well. So usually it's like the first one for every it's called workspace, or for your case it may be called something like your website name. And the second one will just be the feature. Let's say you have a website have both the support posts and files. Then you can upload posts and you can upload files and can upload pictures. Then this one will just be files, posts, or pictures. And then this one can be like if you sort it by month. I think if your category is by month, like January, February, March, and April, May. So can be go until the end of this line. So it's a kind of like help the user to navigate through your website very clearly. So it's a better user experience. So what about this one? The red one? No, I already mentioned what's that? What's the name? Yes, it's called navigation bar. It's short for navbar. So navigation bar is something that you put it usually on the top of your whole page. And then usually they have the fixed one. They also have the not fixed one. Fixed one means that if you always be on the top of the page, even you scroll up or scroll down, but you can also make it to be not fixed. If you make it to be not fixed, that means if you scroll down the page, the navigation bar will disappear. And also just now we have already shown that this navigation bar will have different effects. I think it will look differently on smartphones and on laptops. So usually the navigation bar will collapse when it's on a smartphone. I think it will put it into one of the button and then it will become vertically displayed. So what is this one? This 17 here. Remember? And yes. Some smaller items. All right. Yes. So it's called batch. Yeah. So usually when you want to, let's say, this one is usually let's say that you want to tell this one is a batch, and actually this one is also a batch. Let's say that you are going to build a like small online email service, then you want to use this batch to tell you that how many unread emails, right? So after that, even more, after this whole thing is actually called the panel, or in Bootstrap 4.1 is already called car. And all this actually is used everywhere. So it's not that hard to build a beautiful interface as long as you use the correct library. Apart from Bootstrap, we also have like Foundation or Font Awesome, and actually a few more. But Bootstrap will be the most beginner friendly and it will be the most popular one as well. Yeah. So the server is called jQuery data table plugin. So it is also a front end. It's also a front end library, so it also helps you to build a front end interface which looks much better. But it's very specific. It's specific on only building tables. It does not care about other elements. So actually, if you do not use Bootstrap, I think if you use Bootstrap, Bootstrap already gave you some decoration to your tables, so it looks better. But data table help you to make it look even much better. Yeah. So if you do not use Bootstrap, also you do not use jQuery data table, your table in pure plain HTML, you just look like this. Yeah, it's by definition it's a table, but by user experience it's nothing, right? I think the user really, I think they can see something here, but I'm sure you will lose users very fast. Yeah. So if we already apply Bootstrap to it, Bootstrap will tell you that it does not render very well in the projector, but actually, if you are looking at the slides on your own laptop, I think if you are using just on UL, actually the background color for odd and even rows here is a bit different. On the odd rows, it's just a white background. On the even rows, it's kind of like gray ones. And also, actually, they already have the borders here, but it's not showing well on the projector. So also the alignment is much better. But just now the alignment is a bit weird. So the good news is that using Bootstrap, your HTML code is still the same. You don't need to apply any further configuration to it. You just need to declare class to be table. And then since that you already use Bootstrap, Bootstrap knows that this one is a table. Then it will be rendered like the better ones. And then what if we use data table? If you are using data table, the first good news is that if it's just a small table, like 10 rows or 20 rows, you can still put it onto the page. But what if, let's say that you want to list all the students in your department or all the students within NUS, it will be a very long table. So you need to do some paging, which basically means that you just want to show 20 rows now, but they can select different page. They can also select the number of entries on each page. So all of these things, if you want to build from scratch, okay, yeah, that's possible, but that's going to be very hard. But if you are using jQuery data table, it's just three more lines of code. 3 more lines of code, then it will be much better. Yeah. So again, there are 3 libraries: PHP Mailer, Bootstrap, and jQuery data table. Just go to in the very, very beginning of this set of slides, I said that if you want to know some awesome results or awesome library, let's say that you want to know some awesome PHP results, you just search for GitHub awesome PHP. Right? If you want to know something about Ruby on Rails, then just awesome Ruby on Rails on GitHub. So they have a list of awesome libraries on GitHub. So just use that. That will provide you a really good list of resources. So any problem for this part, for the PHP Mailer and Bootstrap and jQuery data table? It's a bit short because if you really want to go into deep, it's like you can learn a lot, but you cannot cover that much here. Yeah, no problem. No questions? Okay. So a bit summary for this. This is not the end. We still have the Ruby on Rails part, but this part will be much shorter. But this is the end for PHP, but not the end for this whole workshop. So we have learned a few basic concepts like PHP session, MVC sessions. So PHP is just a server-side and big backend programming language for your website. MVC is the pattern that you want to apply to make your code organized well, make it into a well-structured code base. And session is a concept to make you to know, also identify that this user is a user that just not log in. After user login, if the same user sends the same request, you should know it's from the same user. Yeah. We also know that there is something called one-way hashing, which helps us to store the password securely, and hacker cannot do anything unless he wants to use the look over the shoulder attack, right? So we also have some library like Bootstrap, PHP Mailer, and jQuery Editable plugin. Yeah. So that's all for PHP part. Any questions? Oh. Now we will proceed with Ruby on Rails. Okay. Okay, yeah. So next we will have our second topic of this workshop. So we are starting from PHP, but why do we go to Rails? So what's the benefit of Ruby on Rails, and why do we really want to know that? So this part of the workshop will be, for Ruby on Rails, the time will be much shorter than the PHP part. And we will most likely focus on the philosophy and the rationale behind this Ruby on Rails framework. You need to know all the concepts that we have talked before behind Ruby on Rails. Because Ruby on Rails is like, when talking about Ruby on Rails, many people will say that Ruby on Rails is so good and it's so smart that there are so many magic in this framework. You just need to do one line code and all the things will happen. But you need to understand why this one line code can be so powerful. In order to understand this magic inside Ruby on Rails framework, you need to know all the basic concepts. Like the concept we talked about just now, like cookie session or the server client model or like SQL language and relational database or MVC pattern results oriented architecture. Of course, HTML, CSS, JavaScript is still useful and then it's still necessary. Yeah. So a bit about this part of the workshop. Usually is most likely will just be like 3 parts. First, we would like to know some basic syntax of Ruby, and then you will know what is a web framework, and then we understand what is a web framework as Ruby on Rails. So we will try to understand why Ruby on Rails is at least used to be so popular, and why it's useful, or why there are so many magic behind this framework. So there are two important philosophies behind Ruby on Rails, and there are like two rules that every Ruby on Rails programmer will try to follow. One is called convention over configuration. So there are some people that they have already done a lot of research on different approach to solve some problems, and then they in Ruby on Rails world they believe that in the end they already know the best approach to this problem. So you should follow the convention instead of do all the configuration by yourself. That's the meaning behind convention over configuration. And then the second rule or second philosophy is that you should not repeat yourself, which not repeat yourself, which as in the short form will be DIY, which means like drag. So just like in your 1010 or 101s or 2030 or 2030, if you want to apply the same code multiple times, you need to extract out to become a function and then call the function. So basically, it's just like if you can extract something out to become a function or class or something else, you should not. You should do that. You should do some abstraction such that there should never be any duplicate code inside your code base. Okay, yeah, that's the two main scenario. I think two main philosophy behind Ruby on Rails. Yeah. So you first try to know what is Ruby. Ruby is developed by a very smart Japanese computer scientist, and yeah, I also don't know how to pronounce the name as well. So yeah, don't ask me what's the name. Yeah. So Ruby is now, I think it's not as young as like Node.js or something else, but it's still quite young compared to some other language, and it's kind of influenced and inspired by some even older language. And it supports multiple programming paradigms. Like functional programming, if you are from 101s, you should already know functional programming. And if you're from CS1010, you should already know like procedural programming. Sorry. But if you already learn CS2030 or CS2040, maybe you already know what is object-oriented programming. Imperative programming, this one may be a bit not familiar. It's more like SQL style. But never mind, it's just that Ruby, they say that in Ruby, you should have many different ways to do the thing and solve the things well. So just like the paradigm here, you actually have different paradigms. Maybe like some other language like Java, just like object-oriented programming. Everything needs to be an object. I think even you write a small script, even you want to write a hello world program, you still need to instantiate a main class and main method. In Ruby, you can do the functional programming or do object-oriented programming or imperative programming, so different programming paradigms. And Ruby is a dynamic type programming language. Dynamic type programming language is different from PHP. PHP is weak, as in the PHP before PHP 7, weak type. Dynamic type means that you still do not need to declare the type, but at the runtime, the interpreter will assign a type to it. They still have the type, just you don't need to write it. The interpreter behind under the hood, they still have type there. So a precise word should be dynamic type, and also support automatic memory management. So try to be efficient. Yeah. So installation of Ruby is still quite trivial, quite easy for Linux and Mac users. But if you are using a Windows, then yeah, you can install that. But that's going to be troublesome. If you just want to use just a simple basic syntax of Ruby, it's still okay. But later, if you want to install some dependency or third-party libraries, you are going to face a lot of problems. So solution is that whether you want to use virtual machine, or if you want to use a Docker or something else. And then another thing is that Ruby has a lot of versions, and like in some other language, you can just use the latest version. But since some libraries they do not support the latest version, so you are kind of like you are going to change the Ruby version very frequently. So RVM, which stands for Ruby Version Manager, and RVM, which stands for Ruby Environment. There are two tools to help you to manage multiple Ruby versions on the same computer. So it's going to be very helpful if you are going to use a lot of third-party libraries. But again, yeah, it's more friendly for Unix and Linux. So Windows user, please find somewhere else. Yeah. Just like other more modern language, Ruby also do not, as in each Ruby statement, do not need to end with a semicolon. So in C, Java, you need a semicolon. In PHP, it's still the same. Just now we also all use the semicolon. And in C++, C#, it's still the same. But then in the world of Python and Swift or Ruby, you can use a semicolon theoretically, but you do not really need to do that. And usually people will not do that as well. So, but there is only one case, at least here, you must use a semicolon. Let's say that you want to put multiple statements on one line. But again, you should know that that's already a bad practice. So you should not put multiple lines on one line as well. I think multiple lines on one line means that multiple lines on one line, multiple statements on one line. Let's say you want to put a equal to 1 plus 2, b equal to a plus 1. You should just put it onto two separate lines. Then you do not need to use a semicolon, and then it's a good coding style as well. So the use of brackets in Ruby is also a bit different. There's no need for curly braces for the class body, method body, if there's a case when all the bodies. This is the same as Python if you're from CS1010X background, or maybe also the same for some other language. But okay, so the same as Python, you need to use define and when declaring a method, because you do not have the curly braces, then you still need to have something to declare. This is the end of the function body, right? So you need to use define and later we will see how to do that. So even more magic thing is that even the parentheses are still optional. So now this small bracket is still optional. So if there is a function called add, which is adding two numbers, you can call it add bracket open bracket 1, comma 2 close bracket. But you can just call it add, then a square space, then 1 and 2. So this one, like the semicolon is usually we just do not use that. Usually there is no semicolon, and the bracket also there is no bracket. But this parenthesis is like still more like optional. Maybe you think that this one is just, if you just think that this one is just not clear, then you can just add the bracket there. It depends on you. So yeah, but usually if you do not use the parenthesis, please at least give me some white space. Then if you do not have white space, you do not have all the brackets, then that's maybe something machine can learn, but I think machine can read, but people cannot read, right? Yeah. So data types, Ruby support most. It's like data type still the same with other language. So you have the basic type like numbers, integer, float, string, or booleans, and collection type like array and hash. Just now we say that in PHP there are two kind of arrays. One called index array, which is just like normal array, just like same as Ruby. And PHP also have associative array, which is like a hash map. But in Ruby, it's just called hash. So hash map is a new thing in Ruby. I think it's a different thing in Ruby, and it's natively supported. And later we'll see actually the syntax will be much similar to the associative array in PHP. Yeah. So they also have the symbol and the name value. So symbol is like an immutable label. This one is usually you may not be using that. And then, but it's kind of like there's something related to reference type. So yeah, maybe that's not important here. So to declare a variable, since just now we say that Ruby is dynamic type, you do not need to declare any data types. And different from PHP, I think you still need to have the $sign to indicate that it's a variable. They even don't need the variable. You just write something equal to something. That's the declaration of a new variable. So here is the quotation mark is missing. Okay, so if you use the square brackets, it's just to instantiate a new array. You can instantiate a new array like that, and then you can use this syntax like 0 to indicate that you want to access the first element of this array, right? So the third example, this one will be a hash, which is just like the associative array in PHP. But please note that brackets is different now. It's a curly braces. So in Ruby, almost everything is an object. This is it's like this is a good design. I think most of the common modern programming language use this design. So actually everything is an object. The class name for one is an integer. The superclass for integer is numeric, and the superclass for numeric is an object. Because in the end, just like Java, everything in the end, the super class is called object. So that's the end. I think everything will become an object. Okay, yeah. So I also mentioned that there is something different for the if else in Ruby. So like in PHP or in most other language, you can just write if, else if, else. But the else if in Ruby, yes, you can pronounce it like else if, but please note that the spelling is different. It's ELSIF. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. And then if, else if, and then since they do not have the bracket, you can put an optional then here, because they do not have the bracket, the curly braces bracket there. So make your code more clear. And then apart from if else, they have the unless. Beginners usually will find this unless to be really confusing, because unless is like the reverse version of if. So if true, they will evaluate the body, but unless true, will not evaluate the body. Unless false, will evaluate the body. Okay. Yeah.
Then doesn't matter if you use if.
Yeah. Okay. So I think to be safe, you can just use if. This unless and if you want to show someone else that I really learned Ruby. I think I learned Ruby before. Because if someone else coming from a different background, and let's say he come from a Java background, he still can write the if here. But if you really come from a Ruby group background, you can write the unless here. Yeah. And then they have the if modifier. This if modifier is actually a very smart design. In most other language, let's say that if 2 is larger than 1, let's say when it's PHP, then we call hello. Right? So actually, you want to use some simple conditional case here, and then you want to do this code. So what if you can just put it into one line? So in Ruby, you can just write print hello. if 2 is larger than 9. So your code will be much shorter and look much clever, right? Yeah. So actually, we call this kind of thing, if you know about design of programming, it's a bit called kind of like syntax sugar. So just like some sugar in the syntax that will make it to use very nice. Yeah. So this one will be an example. So the statement will only be evaluated if the if modifier is true. So the same applies to unless. I think if you turn it into unless, it's a reverse way. So this one will be similar to Python. To define a method, you need to use the define and then you make sure you have the correct indentation there. And then you also do not need to specify the return statement. You also do not need to use the parameter type. And sorry, you do not need to specify the return type and parameter type because it's dynamic type, just like the PHP before PHP 7, like no types there. And then interesting is that in Ruby, if your method do not have a return statement, it will still return value. The value return will be the last statement in your method body. The last value in your method body will be the return value. Okay, so I think you can write a return statement, but if you do not write the return statement, the value of the last statement will just become the return value. It's also possible to specify something called default value for each parameter. This is something that really fixes the problem of the overload method in Java. So this one is an example. Here, we don't use the bracket here. So this is a method called test. It has 2 parameters, but both of them are optional parameters because they have a default value. So if you do not specify the default value, they will just use this. If you do not specify the argument, you will just use the default value. If you already specify the arguments, we will use these actual arguments. Okay. Yeah. So it's also possible to return multiple values. But actually, this kind of return of multiple value will just return. I think it depends on how you think about it. Actually, they return multiple value, but it will become one array. So it may still look like only one value. Yeah. So the OOP in Ruby is also like a little bit different. So still, we do not have the brackets, don't have the curly braces there. In method, you need the define and. In class, you just need the class and. And then also still support all the abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. And then the thing comes, the 4 types of variables in Ruby is really different from other class. I think from programming language. Normal variables just like the local variable inside your method, just write the method the variable name there without any type, without any $sign. But if it is the instance variable, instance variable means that each instance of this class will have 1 copy of the variable. We'll start with an int. Then what if it's a class variable, which is just like the static variable? You should use a double int prefix. If it's a global variable, it should be prefixed with the $sign. Okay. Yeah. So to instantiate the new object, you just use the new is still the same. And then So it's all the basic syntax of Ruby. It's a bit different from other programming language, but they have their scenario. I think the design behind them is kind of like smart. So yeah, any questions for this part? I think if you are a Windows user but you want to try out, you can try to search for those online tools. And especially, actually, one of them I already recommend. I think recommend on the Slack channel. There is a website called. I can recall clearly. Quite well, so can try online. So if you have no problem, we will go with Ruby on Rails. So Ruby on Rails is a server-side web application framework that is written in Ruby, and it's so popular that maybe most of the people who are going to learn Ruby is because that they want to use Ruby on Rails instead of just using Ruby. Yeah. So it's an open source framework and it's hosted on GitHub, so it's very popular. And it's already more than 10 years now. So they say that they are open-named software. Basically, they mean that although they know there are multiple solutions to one problem, but they have their own opinion and they are very best. So they think that this solution we already try, I think we already do our research, then you should follow our solution. You should not use your own alternative solutions. So yeah, two major guidelines, DIY and DIY dry and COC conventional reconfiguration. We already talked about that just now. Yeah, looks like the URL is correct. So to install Ruby, if you're on Mac or Linux, it's still okay. But if you're on Windows, I just want to tell you some alternatives. First, you can try native installation, then maybe through the installation process, you can learn a lot, right? And then a better solution is that you need to use a virtual machine, but you should know that virtual machine may be slow. And then Docker is something like a container-based virtualization solution. It's a very new topic and it's very hot today. So you can try to learn about Docker. It's very interesting. Online ID, if you just want to try out, you can just try this one. Any question? Okay, yeah. Ruby is, just now we already said that Ruby thinks that it should be conventional reconfiguration. So what is a convention? The first convention is that when you use the command line called Rails new shutdown application or Rails create, they already will create a folder with the default structure of your folder. So and your folder should look like this. Of course they have a lot of reasons behind that. You may think that your alternative is also it's also like good and it's powerful and it's not feasible, but please follow the conventions. So we need to know what are these folders. So the first folder is called app, which is stands for the application. Your views, controllers, and models should be within this folder. You can just create three new subfolders under this app folder for your controllers, views, and models. And then the second one is the binary folder. It's the real script to restart the application and stop the application. Configuration folder is just to save your roots. Later we will know what this roots means. It's called root because it's really something similar to your router. So you need to know the database connection credential. Let's say your database username and password. You also need to store it inside the config folder. And DB is something that is very interesting because Ruby has something called ORM tools, object relational mapping, so that inside your database you have a schema, but they have a Ruby version, the mapping of database schema. So it's like each time you have a new database table, you can just write something in this DB folder. There's a schema.rb file there. You write some Ruby code, then it will have to generate the database it will have to generate the table in your database as well. So it's a very native mapping between Ruby and the SQL segment. So library just some decent module for applications. Else is not just now that's important. And public. So there are some static files on the compile script, just like some JavaScript. It's always the same. So you do not need the Ruby compiler, the Ruby interpreter to run through them again. So just put it into the public folder. And the test folder is just your unit test and integration test, system test, and the user test. Temporary folder just some temporary files. And vendor similar I just now when we talk about the composer. Your all third-party library dependencies will be downloaded into this folder. And then gem file. So if you still can recall, when you are using composer for PHP, there is a composer.json file, which is like required in PHP mailer than the version 6.0, right? So this one is a similar one, but it's a Ruby version called gem file. So all the third-party libraries in Ruby we call it gem. Yeah. So there are a lot of components in Rails, and they are still actively developing new components. But let me just list a few, the most important and essential one for your development in Ruby. So first, the most powerful of this active requirement is something that makes Ruby familiar, and I think makes Ruby famous and popular. It's a really powerful ORM tool. ORM stands for Object Relational Mapping. So SQL database, it's called a relational database. We store all the objects in database like rows and columns. But in your runtime, either Ruby, PHP, or Node.js or Java, that's a class and object. And then if you have some previous experience, let's just say that we have let's say we have a user controller, we also have a user model table. Then we should have a user's database table, right? So there is a mapping between this model and the tables in the database. So this kind of mapping is between the object in your code and the relationals in the database. So they call it relational database map. I think relational database map, object relational mapping. It's kind of object relational mapping means that when you create a new object in Ruby, there is a new record generated automatically in your database as well. So it's kind of wrapper driver for your database storage. Now has the action view, which is like HTML with embedded Ruby. In PHP, you just write something.php. And then in Ruby, you need to write HTML.erb, which stands for embedded Ruby. I think it's just the same, all the HTML code, but there's something inside there. It's a Ruby script. Yeah. So controller is called action controller. By the way, all their components will be something called active something or action something. Okay. Yeah. So they don't have the active mailer, so just like PHP mailer, you can call this mailer to send emails. And then active storage. So let's say you are not going to store, let's say that it's just like, usually because you in your database, usually you just store some text. Or if you want to store some big file like attachment or some pictures. You need some storage instead of just a simple database. This kind of storage can be the AWS S3 bucket, or I forget the name actually, is that S3 or something? or you have something else like the Firebase storage or something else. So this kind of storage is kind of like data storage, but it's not the traditional data space. So you need a different from active storage. And action cable is something similar to socket.io in Node.js. So they have the support for WebSocket. This one comes a bit later because we found that because in the previous version they are unable to do real-time operations, so they support this new thing called action cable. Or cable, right? Cable just means like a cable between you and the web server. So in our traditional request response model, it's like each time it's just like maybe you can think of like this. So your client browser and the server computer are just like two mailbox. Each time you send a request, it's just like you send an email from your browser to the server. Each time you receive a response, it's just like you receive a reply from the server's mailbox to your own mailbox. But why they are called WebSocket or called cable, it's just like you are going to establish a cable between your browser and the web server. So because there are cables there, you can consistently transmit any information between this party and the other party. So that's going to be effective and efficient for real-time applications. Yeah. So actually, it's also an architecture pattern. And they have the implementation in Ruby, which is part of the Ruby on Rails. And then, yeah. So by the way, this guy just read a lot of good books on software engineering. Mr. Martin. Okay, so object relational mapping is just like the mapping between your model class and tables in a relational database. And then yeah, so user class mapped to user table, and then post class may be mapped to a post table. Same applies for the others. It's also a wrapper for raw SQL queries. So actually, just now, one of you asked me a question that actually, because you see that in our PHP slides, actually just like in your raw SQL queries, the question marks will be replaced by some input, right? So first, it's not secure. It may have some SQL injection attack, and it's also like it's not really easy to write. And then in Ruby on Rails, due to this wrapper, you can, if you want to write select star from users, basically means that you want to select all the rows in the users table. Thanks to this wrapper, you can just write user.all. So it's really clear and clean code. So it increases the code readability a lot. And then, but the problem is that they have some issue like n+1 query, which basically means that the same query, when they do this wrapper, they are not really that smart, then they are separate. When you try to do some not so good way, you are using it in a careless way, then it's like they separate one query into n queries, and then there is one additional query to put them together. Now you use n+1 query instead of only one query, then you query again, then quite slow. So yeah, I think n+1 is not easy to explain, but the basic idea you can get from that. Yeah. So they have conventions. They have conventions for the structure of your folders of your project repository. They even have conventions for the namings. So to follow conventions, your database tables is usually in the plural form. So it's something articles or users or like people. But your model class should usually be in the singular form, like article, person, and something else like item. So yeah, and make sure that each first letter of each word will be capitalized, and by in your table, schema table name will just be underscores. Yeah. So there are some simple examples about IK card. So basically, we'll talk about the wrapper of the SQL query here. So insert into users with values of Smith and students. If you just want to write a raw SQL query, you can write like that. But actually, anyway, just create a new user. What if we just call user.create method? And please know that this user, you're kind of like subclass a model. I think you should extend a model superclass. And when you extend this model superclass, it already have all the create, send back, and where all these methods. So you do not write it again. So all these are already handled by the Ruby framework. So they will select star from user will name equal to something. It's just like you are trying to find, instead of user.all, you want to find by some criteria or some predicate or some conditions. You can just write user.find by something. And the same for, so user.find by can just, actually they can just be translated into user.all.where something. And then if you want to delete from users, just like user.where.destroy all. Okay? So if you know all this API from Ruby on Rails, you even do not need to know how to write SQL queries. You can already operate on your SQL database. Yeah. So apart from just query the database, you have some more operations like migration, like validation, callbacks, or association. They all have, they are just trying to give you some wrapper, give some simple APIs instead of to write it yourself. In PHP or in some other language, just need to write it yourself, put some queries into the database and connect to the database and so on. But using their API, just one line of code, it's so simple. Yeah. So another thing is that in Ruby, you enter a URL, but how can you know which controller should be called when user evaluates this URL? We need some router. And here is it. So this is a more complex example. So okay. So first they have this kind of special syntax. So let's say that each magazine should have multiple advertisements. That means that to the most extent that looks like natural English, you should just write magazine has many advertisements. And one advertisement belongs to one magazine. It's like an N-to-1 relationship. The N is advertisement, magazine is 1. So let's say there's such an example. So naturally, according to the RESTful API, the RESTful interface and the resource-oriented architecture, they say that the convention is that your URL, when you try to visit some advertisements, your URL should be, first part should be magazines, then magazine ID, magazine ID, then advertisements, or magazine, you want to write a new advertisement. Let's say that, okay, so let's talk about this one first. If I just want to add a new advertisement to one existing magazine. So first, this new advertisement should be grouped under a certain existing magazine. So first, you need to go into this magazine feature, right? Then it's one of the existing magazine. You need to have some ID or identifiers to say I'm from this magazine. And this magazine has many advertisements with two both advertisements. And then the operation is that you want to instantiate or create a new magazine, and then create a new advertisement. So the operation should be new. So it's I think it sounds a bit like strange or weird now, but in Ruby on Rails, most likely you just follow the conventions and it will work very well. Yeah. So notice this one is just something like it defines which URL should call which method. Because anyway, you call this URL in the end will be come to here. This advertisement class will be called the new. I think the initializer method will be called will access this URL. So it's again a mapping between URL and the class. That's now the actually requires a mapping between model class and SQL database tables. And this one is a mapping between the URL and the controller method. Yeah. So action view, they call it action view, but it's just like you will want to embed some Ruby statement inside your HTML code. It looks like the JSP in Java. Yeah, but JSP is not like it's not taught at school. Yeah. Just now your PHP code is just like the HTML code. There are some PHP statements inside the HTML code, right? And then to pass something from the controller to the view, just like in PHP, let's say in the login form, if you still can remember, you need to pass some error message from the controller to the login form, right? The same applies to Ruby. All the instance views are passed to the views because they're still object oriented. It's like a result. Let's just say that user. Maybe let's say that you want to display a user, then the instance variables like username, email, this kind of thing should be passed to the view. And then still instance variables are prefixed with one at, and static variables or class variables are prefixed with 2@. So here, if you want to pass the instance views, you should use the name is one prefix at. Yeah. So we have all the wrappers for the elements in HTML. Just like in HTML, you should have the A element to use as the link. But in Ruby, if you use the embedded Ruby, you can just use the link to method. And then actually another thing is that so this one is just like a body of the table. And then this each .do is actually it's a loop to iterate through a array. And then here it's not okay. So here there are two lengths. They're calling a render method. Actually, render method is just like a partial view. Just like if your page is too long, you do not want to put it into one form. You want to put some part of this page. Sorry, you don't want to put. If your page is too long, you do not want to put the whole page into only one single file. You want to put some parts of this page into a separate file that's called partials. So yeah, partials. But actually when we render this, this render method just taking only one parameter. It's just the name of the file. Although when you call this render method, it's just like this name, but actually your actual file name is not like this. Your actual file name should always be prefixed with a leading underscore. So when we call shared /footer, this actual file will be underscore footer.html.erb. Okay, so this kind of like a common mistake. Because some beginners will think that I already called render myself, but why is the render in the partial page still not showing? Because actually, although when you call this method, there is no underscore. But when you really name that file, there should be an underscore. Underscore is at the beginning of the file name, basically. Yeah. So there are really a lot of Ruby gems, and to manage the thing is that many people are using Ruby on Rails that there is so many powerful libraries. Just like maybe your classmate is still writing the login sign up, just like just now we are writing login sign up by ourselves. But if you use this device library, all the login sign up and all the database management, all the password when hashing are already handled by the library. You just need to call the library, then that's all. So maybe they do the whole thing by 1 week. You just do it by like 10 minutes. Yeah. So also it's like if you are going to build a complex website, different users may have different access level. Maybe like you are building an enterprise management system, or maybe just like IBLE. So teachers can visit some tools, professors can visit some tools, but students cannot visit this kind of tools. So you need to have some kind of access control, and just call this function called call this library called can. So yeah, it's a library called can because you can just ask this library, I have this user, that this current user can access this URL or cannot access this URL. Yeah. So like paper trail, just like if you are really building something for kind of like government agency or something else, they want to know each change to the data must be recorded. So let's say you want to increase the number in the database, you must record it into another table to make sure all of them can be audited. So to help with auditing, you need to use this paper trail library. And parallel, is even more interesting. In your production database, it's a good idea that you never delete anything from your database. What if there are some bugs in your code and then you delete something carelessly, but actually you should not delete it, but it's just gone. And paranoid do this by add a new column called deleted, or it's a Boolean value. So each time when you delete something, actually it's not deleted, it just sets that column to true. So you by default it's false, but if you set to true, when you select it, then the next time you select all from this table, it will not be shown. So it's much safer. And then paperclip and symbol form and by bug. Yeah. Since Rails it's not do not have a compiler, so it do not have any IDE to natively support the debugging, but there is a very good library called by bugs. So if you want to say goodbye to your bugs, you use this library. Yeah. So so this Ruby part it's actually much shorter than the PHP part, but actually there are some philosophy behind this Ruby on Rails framework. So two main of them is do not repeat yourself. Please use all the partials, all the abstraction and inheritance to make sure that there is no duplicate code in your data in your code base. Another thing is that conventional over configuration. All these smart people already built all these frameworks to tell you that this kind of framework is the best approach to solve this problem. So just follow the convention, then it will be all perfectly done. So also some components of Ruby on Rails like FK require router and all things else, and also the useful Ruby gems. Yeah. So one thing I did not really mention in the class that actually Ruby on Rails are not really used in many big websites, just like one of the examples is Twitter. So about like 7 or 8 years ago, they are still using a lot of Ruby on Rails. So it's like when they grow from startup to a big company, they are all using Ruby on Rails. But when they grow really as big as today, they stop using Ruby on Rails, and then they switch to Java. So why? Actually, most of the website, I think most of the big companies will be using Java. The reason why is that all of these do not have a compiler like Ruby or PHP. They only have an interpreter. But when you interpret it and the runtime is slow, only after you compile it to the machine code, it's faster. So they stopped using that, and more and more their backend API are not written in Java now. So, but for startups and for your own project, this usually the reason why this kind of language still exists there, they still did not die yet because just that there must be some benefits, and the benefit is that it's so powerful and so simple to create new features, and it's much faster when you use Java. Yeah. Okay. So any question for this part? If you have any question apart from the Ruby on Rails, also can. For any like general questions. No. No, then like the end of the workshop.